Good evening and welcome to the Highgate Selectboard meeting for June 17th, 2021. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming. Do we have any public comments that are not on the agenda topics? Okay, so moving right along. Airport infrastructure updates.
So we do not have the committee here, but I just wanted to give you a few quick updates. And there is a new flyer on the table, and that is for review tonight and your approval. So this is what we could start circulating. So I have shared it with a few different people to get some feedback. So the question tonight is, does this serve the purpose of giving enough information to the public? And it can be one of many, so it is a start. But I put it up on the screen so people could see it. That is the project that is proposed. That is the plan that was created as a part of a study. We had a study committee that worked on this last year and looked at the area for development and quantified what the economic return could be and what the cost to develop it would be. So for both water and sewer, it is a proposed $3.5 million project. And the date has been set for a public bond vote for September 14th. And a public hearing will be held on September 7th. And voters will have a chance to cast their vote at that time. And until then, we'd like to get information out and answer as many questions as possible. So voters are being asked to support a bond to bring public water and sewer infrastructure to the commercial industrial districts surrounding the Franklin County Airport. So it is your designated commercial industrial district, and that happened through the zoning process. That is the desired use in that area out there. That is what we are trying to foster with that project. So it will leverage significant state and federal investments to upgrade the airport and private investment to develop an adjacent commercial park. This investment by the town will enhance the community's efforts to obtain the highest economic and fiscal return for that area, including significant added tax revenue from an expanded town brand list. And then it is a question and answer sheet. So why invest in this project? Higher property tax generated, higher wage jobs for our area, and educational opportunities. And it is a once in a generation opportunity. Why now? This has been a vision for the town since 1971. It was printed on the town report that this was the area that the town would like to see development happen. But it has never really seemed to be a worthwhile endeavor until a few things started lining up. And that would be the state planned airport upgrade and the private development of a 7-lot commercial park. So bringing high quality water and sewer utilities to the area will facilitate higher return on that commercial property as it's developed and bringing the highest rewards to Highgate taxpayers. And it seems to be an ideal spot because it is 7 miles south of the Canadian border and 2 miles from Interstate 89, making it attractive to business. And we have learned through Vermont Chamber of Commerce that there's a very large aviation hub in Quebec for businesses related to the aviation field, Pratt & Whitney, several other, and that there's a aviation corridor from Quebec down to Connecticut that crosses right through here that makes this a highly attractive area for them. And the time frame, there is a required vote in September, and that time frame is being forced by one of the grants that the town has already received, a $507,000 grant, and it requires a public vote by September 7th. So that's what the push is, to get that vote. And that bond vote is also required for the USDA grant, or loan, if we end up needing that, as well as the EDA grant. So the challenge is that we won't know exactly what we have for grant funds at the time of the bond, so the question will have to be framed in a way that speaks to the full amount of the project cost, but can indicate that the town will continue to seek grants in addition to those you've already gotten. So,
okay, so let's get some dates. VCDP, we would know about that 500,000 when?
well, we're kind of in limbo with them right now. We submitted that for the last round, but at this point, they feel that the benefit currently looks like the state, because the state will hook up first. So what they're wanting us to do is give more information on the benefit to the residents. So we have put together information on the educational benefit, because we are a low to moderate income area, 51% low to moderate income. That can be considered benefit. But that is, they have said that they would like to be a gap fill coming in after the EDA grant is secured.
And the EDA, when would we know about that?
Well, if we applied right after the bond vote and submitted that soon after, then we should know that within a few months. I can double check on the
So by
exact date.
town meeting.
I would think so, yes.
V-Tran is
That was the
providing $800,000 directly to the municipal water and sewer.
Yes, well, they put a $1 million allocation in there, but we're trying to calculate the cost to hook up the state buildings out of that. So, what the engineer calculated was that 800,000 of that would be able to go right to the extension to their boundary line, which is where the stump would be.
Okay, and the USDA loan would be dependent upon how much we had after a gap fill. From
Yes,
possibly VCDP, which is Vermont Community Development.
yes.
So have we applied for the USDA loan?
We have applied for that, yes. We're in the queue, but we also need a vote for that.
Okay.
So the way that that grant, that loan was written is that we would have a public vote by September as well.
So if we go into a vote for 683,000, what have you, and we receive funding that is more than what we expect, how does that work with the bond vote, Shelley?
When we were speaking with Ed Adrian about the wording of the bond vote, he suggested to put in language, if we do not receive the grants that that are on paper right now that we're trying to apply for to make up our match, that we would not go forward with the project to make residents feel more secure as far as there would not be a $683,000 bond.
Right, well, I would feel more
Right.
secure in that as well. And if we only needed a small portion of that, say we needed half of that,
Correct.
we could still go forward according to Ed. Ed Adrian is our lawyer, our town's lawyer, so that just,
I know
Does
Heidi
everybody
was
know?
checking with all of those grants to make sure everything that was required as far as language and the dollar amounts met and satisfied their requirement for a positive bond vote.
so I'm taking up the conversation here, but feel free to jump in anytime.
The question I had was just that, when it comes down to it, and the town say the voters decide that yes, let's go for this, and all this funding doesn't come through, then
He
what's the
suggested-
town on the hook for, or is the town on the hook for anything?
Correct, yeah. He suggested adding specific language that if you do not receive the grants, the select board would
That was
not
the
move
biggest question I
forward
had,
with
and
the
it was
project.
already answered, but I just,
Yeah.
I think it's a great project, but it makes me nervous that there's just too many unknowns as far as, you know, this one says this and that one says that, and until it's signed, and it means nothing. It's lip service.
I'm hearing all the positives. I want to hear, is there any negatives in this? Is there any negatives at all? I hear everybody's positive. I hear the superintendent, I hear the kids, I hear, you know, I hear Heidi, I hear these people come in from not even Highgate. I want to hear, is there any negatives? Are we going to lose out in somewhere along the line?
You
If-
will
if
with the
it-
money, you will.
Well, what's
You're
that?
still going to pay. And no matter if you have no match, no bond, you will still have an annual cost. You are adding a department to the town. You're adding water and sewer. That's a utility department.
But I understand, so is there any benefit, are we gonna make out of this water and sewer?
No. According to the auditors, my auditors, you will not make revenue from the water and sewer. Your revenue will come from the grant list.
In the research that I was able to accomplish in the last 2 days, our listers quote that the water infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, this isn't going to give us a great amount of tax value versus private wells and septics. You know, because you can only assess improvements to property to a certain one. So their estimate is $16,000 per property of taxable grand list. You know, nothing's in stone, but it was just a off the cuff estimate. So, you know, $15,000 on 10 properties is $150,000 worth of actual grand list. Shelley, what would that net us for tax income?
For 15,000?
150,000. Say 10 units at 15,000 apiece.
I could go and get you the exact on the tax rate in my office.
Just off the cuff, yeah.
I don't even want to guess. Because are we talking just municipal? It's gonna be peanuts. On just municipal tax, I mean, our taxes are peanuts anyway on the
Right.
municipal side.
Right, exactly.
So, you know, we gotta keep that in the back of our minds that this is not generating income anywhere.
So our tax rate could go up.
Our tax rate could go up because we gotta pay for this bond and we gotta pay to maintain it and we gotta pay to read the meters, to bill it out, to chase money that guys don't pay us. You know, there's a lot of risk that I just, as a business decision, I haven't been sold on spending money with no return on it. You know, if somebody could show us a return, it'd be a lot easier to understand the push to move forward on.
I think there will be a return, it's just not going to be immediate.
Right.
You will have costs up front. And I know, like, I put together this spreadsheet and it has been circulated probably a few times from Heidi. That was giving you a little breakdown on what an interest rate would cost on X amount of dollars. But it also broke down when we met with Reg, Bellevue, and Lynn Paradis from Swanton. I'm sure this was based off their rates in, I don't even remember how long ago that was we met. It must have been 2020. I think we had to wear masks. The days have blended in this whole COVID thing.
Right.
So, but our annual cost, which consists of a daily inspection, an annual flushing, an annual winterizing, it's $30,000 at their rate today. Plus, that also includes our base usage for our master meter. So we're gonna pay Swanton Village to have our master meter.
Plus, we're gonna have to pay somebody to do all this too, right? The town?
You're gonna need it at some point when you have customers. Whoever hooks up to our master meter will be our customers. So yes, you need somebody that will bill and collect. I'm sure I can do it, but I can't do it alone. I've got a lot on my plate already. So you're talking at least additional staff at some point. And maybe a part-time highway, which I'm sure Butch wouldn't mind a part-time highway person anyway, or maybe a full-time to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that with the meter reading and, but yes, this is gonna cost the town some money, absolutely. And the revenue that we will see will be, it depends how quickly things move on their end.
Right.
It's hard to guess.
Right, it could be 10 to 20 years.
That 8-lot
For-
subdivision happens like that. I mean, we could have 10 customers.
So if we run negatives, 25,000 for 10 years, we're talking $250,000.
If nothing happens in that time.
Correct, yeah. Well, you'll have something happening because you'll have the state off our master meter, and you'll have the
Right.
airport off your master meter.
Which we will bill them for their usage.
Right.
And, I mean, I would still have to learn from Lynn, Paradis down at Swanton Village. Is it legal for us to tack on additional costs so we're making something from it?
Right.
Or do we just bill them for their usage and
Call
like the money we would get is if they're delinquent,
So,
which is another headache.
so we don't know what we can charge for the usage of it? We own it, correct? We own that extension?
I know nothing about utilities, Scott,
I-
so this is starting from square zero.
Right,
And
so
no,
that's the question I got.
that would be,
Are we held to a specific rate?
I don't
Or can
know,
we-
that's all, that will all have
You
to
know,
be
Yeah, that would all have to be drawn up in a
learned, right,
contract.
exactly.
Yeah.
Learned and,
So how
This is-
can we ask voters to vote on unknown? That's what I've been fighting with on this, and that's the reason I'm here today. There are so many unknowns that these answers are not being, these questions are not being answered, and you're asking us to put up a $683,000 bond for unanswered questions, and that's a really tough place to put the taxpayers at, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I can't advocate for it if we don't know what we're advocating for. You know? In the last 6 months, we really haven't got a lot more information, you know?
there's not a lot more to give until,
Yeah, unfortunately,
It's-
because there are so many parties involved, some of it isn't known up front.
none of it. Well,
I think if you're going to pursue this, if you're going to pursue economic development in the town, that there is no better time to do it than now. We have COVID money in the area, which is, you know, a bonus for what we've gone through. But that money, some of that will go toward this project, which would drop your 680 to, who knows, depends on what the select board determines for the additional funds we'll get. But if this is the way the voters want to go, for economic development, to raise your grand list, to not continue to be a bedroom town, where you have just a very, a rising population of children, which I have nothing against children, it's just expensive to educate them. If you say $15,000 to $16,000 a year per student, and that's why the planning commission is looking at different ways to tax developers versus residents, so that we can try to control some of our population growth in the way in which we grow.
What makes me a little nervous, Sharon, is our tax rate is lower than Swan's with a fairly decent sized commercial, two commercial parks. We got a lower tax rate than that. You know, how come? You know, do this commercial stuff have added costs that we just we're not quite finding yet? You know, like this sewer, the deeper we look, the more costs we keep finding in it. You know. It's just a question, how come? How come our tax rate is, I think it was 20-ish cents lower than Swan's?
Right.
You know, I don't know. I mean, if industry's the answer, you would think they would at least have something comparable to our tax rate.
Well, I think they probably do. You have to look at the actual services they offer their residents as well as, it's not an apple-to-apple comparison.
What do they offer to
Their ambulatory and their police department.
Look at their fire.
we have both, we just pay for it.
Look at their fire station.
Right.
They just took delivery of 1.5 million for 2 trucks. Just
Why
2
do
trucks.
they need that, Kyle?
Why did they need it?
Yeah. Is it because they've got bigger buildings to fight fires in?
You know, it's,
You know, you follow what I'm saying?
I follow what you're saying, but I don't know if they need to go with the trucks they went with.
I don't either. I mean, do
You know,
we know
they're
if we get a
extremely-
certain size building, our fire, do we have to upgrade our fire? I don't know. These are questions, these are the unknown questions that seem to be getting overlooked.
When Cargill went into Swan, they were required to up there because of the
height.
size and the height of that building.
So if we get a building like,
3 stories.
you know, 3, 4 stories high, are we all of a sudden on the hook to upgrade our fire equipment? This is all stuff that,
I think Ty Schwinger has repeatedly expressed the concern about the fire department.
you know, this is all stuff, and all of a sudden, Kyle, we need $1.5 million worth of equipment.
Well, just, you know, just that ladder truck was, just their ladder truck was like $800,000,
You
$900,000.
follow what I'm
Oh,
saying?
absolutely, I followed it.
We keep hearing
I know
that,
exactly what you're saying.
yes, it is gonna generate tax income, we're well aware of that. But what follows with it, you know? Down the road 20 years, 1,200 employees in and out of there. Our one sheriff or our one St. Albans PD tracking traffic ain't cutting it no more.
I got a question. You mentioned COVID money. Now, my understanding that the arena came to you guys and wanted some money.
The arena is the town of Highgate's largest loser in the COVID game.
Okay. And then
We
you,
lost roughly $99,000 of money that we would have generated had it not been for the emergency orders from the state of Vermont.
and we have the landslides, one on Macy Road and one down by the Shanty. I think that COVID money should go toward that.
We don't have a say on where the COVID money can go. The state and the federal government are directing us how we can spend it. Or I'm sure we would love to pay for some of these large projects with that money.
But that can get used for the arena, can it? Phil?
It is because it's directly related
Right,
to
so,
revenue
you
loss
know,
from COVID.
There's a
Yes.
99,000 that should be
And there's,
automatically earmarked.
that's also
Right.
still moving pieces. They're
Right.
They're not 100% on what we can and can't spend it on.
We're still working on
They
that
haven't
too.
even really told us what
And
you
we,
guys.
and we don't have a check in our hand either.
Exactly.
I mean, but yes, the select board had already made it quite well known that the arena would be the first amount taken out of any COVID money because they were our largest loser.
Did we have any other losers because of directly
We were very fortunate.
Very little, and most
Yeah.
of it was added expenses as far as, like Highway had, you know, the masks and
Mhm. So,
minimal.
Not a lot.
No,
No. But yes, the idea is to cover our losses first, to reimburse the programs that we already have established, before we go further.
So the federal government tells you where you have to put the rest of it.
Yes, they give you guidelines of where you can and cannot use that money. And it's our job to comply so we can keep it.
What's the amount of money do you need for the 2 landslides?
That's going to depend on, first, what happens with FEMA for the transfer station. What money is gonna come through for that. We're waiting for them. We're now into our phase 2 process for the archaeological
Yep.
studies for that, so that we can keep going forward. We also, the Macy Road is another project that is gonna take a large chunk of money. Some of it we have set aside in our capital improvement because we knew this day unfortunately was coming. We were very fortunate this year that the weather cooperated so that we didn't have as much erosion as we could have. The river was,
the stay-at-home order helped the traffic on the road too.
it did, absolutely, there's,
What was the last last price tag of Macy Road? 1.5, 1.7?
1.7, that we're short.
I think that's what we're short. You have an updated grant sheet in there. We have 2 grants for the Macy Road, and because they are taking so long with it, we are likely to have opportunity to apply for a 3rd round of that grant. And we may be closer to having an accurate estimate for construction, which will be helpful. Same with the transfer station. We're in the process of trying to apply for an additional grant to cover the 25% match that the town is on the hook for, which is $717,000, I believe. So there's still opportunity for us to pull in some more funds on both of those projects.
So if we stall on them even longer, Heidi, can we find more funding?
I don't want to
yes,
participate in that conversation.
and frankly, if the road fell into the river,
Be best.
we would go to the top of the list.
Right.
And that's a terrible thing to say, and I don't wish that upon the people that live on that road, but those are unfortunately the facts of life.
Is there any guarantee after you get it fixed, it's gonna stay there?
No, Mother Nature's a tricky little
That's what
thing.
I'm saying.
She,
So who will go for that? The engineers?
it's a risk that you take. You know, they are they are, through their studies, have told us that this meets the state's requirements for safety factors. So, for the town, that's the best guarantee we get, unfortunately. But is there a warranty on it? No. Nobody's gonna warranty the flow of water through there.
But we do know that there will be other weak spots on that road
Yeah.
that are already presented.
So, do we move the road? I mean, I know that's been discussed a little bit.
We have discussed it. I've talked to a couple of landowners. The one that is the most prevalent said, absolutely not, you're not touching my land.
So close the road.
What if we closed it then?
We couldn't
It's
close it for
possible,
2
but-
weeks when the bridge was falling in the river.
Right. It's possible, but you still have to service
True.
the people that live there.
Absolutely, we gotta come from both
Right.
ways, correct?
Right.
We've had discussions of closing it
For years?
No, closing it, make it a one-way, come from the bridge and close it there. I can't think of the name of the road right now, but where Ricky Macy's trailer used to
Yeah,
be.
I know, yeah.
Close it right there, make that a, you know, make it a one-way from the bridge. We talked about that, we talked about moving the road. And it's so, we talked about making it a one-way as far as the lights and having it so one lane of traffic to get the traffic off the river. And that's ridiculously expensive for the equipment. And once you do that, you can't reopen the road again until the project's finished. So that was, and then we looked at the other one of shutting that road down, and it's not practical to do that. And then to move the road, well, that doesn't look like that's going to happen without a serious lawsuit. And nobody wants to get into that mess.
Eminent domain, yeah,
You can,
but it costs a lot of money.
but you know the landowner and he's gonna fight. He's already made that very clear.
You know, it's just going to take years of litigation to have upset people.
It's just tough to, you mentioned that they could slide in elsewhere to spend $2, $3, $4 million
Well, it's-
and chase it 5 years or 10 years down the road.
You're
Close to the-
going to chase that road from, yeah, absolutely.
across from Gary O's.
So wouldn't it be cheaper to go eminent domain?
If it were your house, what would you think?
Oh, well, we had property taken up from us and through eminent domain. And
What choice once it got going?
once it got going, when they raised the dam, they took it. You know, it's for the benefit of the people, blah, 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 community. So this could be a benefit for our account because we can't afford to keep fixing that road. So
Well,
my
the other-
suggestion would be to go eminent domain.
The other thing is that it's not just eroding from one side. It's actually eroding from both sides, and it wants to create an island there.
Right there.
Just- Yeah. So, would you go through all this for, 50 years and then you're right smack dab back in the middle of it again?
Sounds like a bad situation. here.
It is
It's-
yeah, we've
It's not
had a
good.
lot of discussion about being screwed because just the way it is. It's a bad, transfer station's no different.
Right,
It's a bad situation.
Same river.
Yeah.
we have talked about looking at it as a regional problem, getting on the Transportation Advisory Committee priority list as a regional issue because that road is busier than Route 7, almost as busy as Route 78. There's so much traffic and they're not all Highgate residents, there are people cutting through.
Mhm.
So if we could get on the regional priority list and try to track down some funding to do a regional planning project, then we could get input from other towns and try and not look at it as a Highgate problem, maybe more of a regional problem, then we might be able to come to some better conclusions about what to do.
And the other thing is that there's funding for some options, but no funding for others. So there is actually right now more money to fix that road where it's falling in right now than to do any other option.
Yeah, wasn't there no money to move the road? There was nothing. Nothing, not a penny.
So you lose
You're
all that
100% on
money,
your own.
and all that fight, and the legal bills and everything else to have to come up with a lot more than,
Understood.
yeah. It's poor choices all around.
Now, I just want to clarify, we don't have any money to relocate the road, but if you went through a planning project and they said that was ultimately the best option, I'm sure you'd be able to apply for grants to help. If that's what the outcome was, but to do anything right now, we don't have any information or money.
Could you get more money if you didn't do nothing? And if then the road got unpassable again?
Unfortunately, probably, yes.
But again, they probably would just do what you're doing and fix one spot, and you'd have a problem down the road. So You know, I think at some point the town has to put it out to the region. What do they want to happen to that road? Because it's a heavy burden for Highgate to carry alone.
And when we started this project, and we were interviewing engineers and looking at ways about this, because frankly, this is right next to the spot they fixed 20 years ago. We were led to believe that we could do the same thing. And we had plenty of money set aside, we were all good, things were great, we were right on track. When it came right down to it, we were misled. It was not a simple fix like the other side. There was more factors that made it more dangerous area, which made it have to be a more complex fix. And it's a complex fix, because when you're trying to put 4-inch concrete nails in the side of a sand pile, basically, to hold it together so the traffic can go over it, it's a crapshoot.
Sharon, I don't remember the plans, I do remember the nails, but was it stone just like it is now, or is it more or less the nails?
Well, no, they'll have to do some work on,
Riverbank.
yes, they're gonna put in a rock toe, basically, of, to try to help control the river flow. But that's a lot of material right there. When you look over right there, the road is pretty darn close. When you look down there, that's a lot of fill. A lot of fill, a lot of stone, a lot of money. That's what it is. But no, this group right here has had some tricky decisions. And we honestly do weigh them against the taxpayers and the tax rate, because we live here too, and none of us want our taxes to go up either. But we also don't want to let the town fall into ruin either. We have an obligation to make sure that we do the best job we can.
So do we need water and sewer then?
Okay, I haven't got to speak yet on this, on the airport, going back to the airport, we kind of got off track here. I was going back to old email, because we've been having meetings on this for the last year. And yeah, they have kind of fallen by the wayside lately, but we're getting back into it again because we're getting close to the vote. We need to get the info that we had out there before back out there again. So I'm just reviewing some of that, what everybody's been talking. This was, it's airport infrastructure project overview. It's just some of the benefits. I know you were looking for some of the negatives. There's no negatives in here right now, although it's gonna cost some money. Big thing for me is when I look at the big picture, yes, there's gonna be some initial investment up front. It's gonna cost the taxpayers some money. I think it's all gonna come back though. When you look at all the facts, I think it was Tim, Mayor St. Owens Smith, he brought up the fact that, and I work in Burlington at the airport, so I see this, but they're out of room. There's no room. We got airplanes, we got FedEx on the same ramp as us, and we can barely get by each other kind of thing. There's no more commercial space in Chittenden County, and especially at the airport there. And there's a lot of companies looking to move where there's an airport. There's Plattsburgh, and there's gonna be this one. Plattsburgh is, I work there too sometimes, I'm trying to put this politely. Not as business friendly as Vermont, believe it or not. So, this is where what was that movie? If you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
If we make the initial investment to attract the companies and take a little bit of that cost away, I think the water and sewer, a little bit of cost away from them, we'll get that, I'm not gonna say tenfold, but we'll definitely get it back.
How much capacity will Swanton have? St. Ben and Jerry's wanted to build there. Would they have the water and sewer capacity?
That we talked about, and I'm not a water and sewer guy, but
They said yes.
I think we did talk about food manufacturing there.
We did talk
Yeah.
about food manufacturing, and we talked, high water use businesses. And,
You could not have 7
yeah,
Ben and Jerry's there.
but you could have.
But you might be able to have 2, and then 5 different types of business.
And they couldn't do it on a well. They'd have to have city water. Some kind of, municipal water supply to do that, plus the sewer going out the other end, so. I'm looking at just some of the things I'm gonna read like 5 little things here. This are some of the potential benefits. The big thing was the warehousing, because we're so close to the border, and once the border opens up, the Canadians, I think Tim already said there's at least 2 manufacturers in Canada that want to immediately set up here if we open this park up.
Brian, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
You said if we open the park up, the town of Highgate is not opening the park up, a developer is opening the park up. That's the problem I have. The developer at one point promised some money
Yeah.
and he backed out of it. Why are we, why are we bending over backwards for this one developer? That's the problem I got there. I'm not against the airport infrastructure, I am all for it. But it seems like we're bending over backwards for one specific person or developer.
So-
You follow what I'm saying?
I don't think that's quite accurate now, because we're looking at people or parties talking about development where the old brick plant was.
Mhm.
And they're very interested in hooking up to this system if it comes.
But it would cost us more to move that far also, correct? We would have to go
The
up.
town's
70.
gonna have to have investment in it no matter what. To me, it's kind of a case of, what do you want to have 10 years from now? Do you want to have simple warehouses that are just big empty shells and
If the tax base is on them, that's fine.
what?
You know?
Well, the tax base is probably virtually, I'm guessing, but 3 times as much for an industry as for just a warehouse. And warehouses don't employ many people. Nowhere near as much, so.
How do you deal with businesses today? They all want a tax break for 5 years. So how do you-
Property taxes, pardon me, Butch, yeah, they're a double-edged sword. But the thing that strikes me is you would increase the economy around here. You'd have more employment. You'd have some higher-end employment. And just, I think you
Doesn't
generate.
that wheel revolve, not to interrupt you, doesn't that wheel revolve? Because we draw in more opportunity for work and stuff. And then people are going to want to move closer, stay closer, then we're building houses. And it's a big snowball. So we bring in industry, and then we're bringing in housing, our education tax goes up, our recreation tax goes up, so I don't, it's just.
Which is also, to your point earlier though, that's a key part of planning. Is to have those things in place. So if, like you said, you get 1,200 new jobs in this town, somewhere along the line, we have to incorporate basically some road use tax so that we can cover that.
Right, our education's our biggest expense, and we all know that.
Oh, yeah.
To me, the flip side of the coin is our major industry, which is unquestionably agriculture, is evolving, and such that farms are becoming bigger. They're hiring less and less people to do the same job, the same amount of
As far as
production.
employment, I couldn't agree with you more, there's less and less opportunities to work.
So then,
But our tax base stays the same, because
then
the acres of land.
local people are going to be looking to have to find employment somewhere else. Whether it's Chittenden County or Lamoille County or even Washington County.
But you look right now, Bruce, people don't want to work. What are you gonna do? You're gonna have 1,200 jobs and nobody will work.
There you go.
And look at them, everywhere you go. We can't even hire a janitor at $15, $16 an hour. What are you gonna do?
Some things you control, some things you can't really
That's,
control.
that's gonna come back around though.
Yeah.
Good.
Oh, yeah.
That's gonna come back around.
Yeah, once you shut off the money.
It's
gonna come back around.
That's like another social,
So one of the things there we're talking about was the 1,200 jobs possibly created, it says over 5 years within the build out of the project. I don't think that's 1,200 airport jobs. When I read this is 1,200 jobs all around here to include not just, aviation mechanics and maybe more people who work at the airport and manufacturing. This could also be things like Lowe's, new restaurants here. I'd love to see something on McDonald's in town. Not that I don't like McDonald's, but Choice would be great, Chick-fil-A or something like that.
But Vern, we only got so much land, because I'm gonna tell you what, a lot of our land here is all in land trust. We've only got so much land here in Highgate, because a lot of it is gonna stay agriculture. And we aren't thinking about that either.
Oh, I think about
You
the
know-
ag. The ag I don't think is gonna be affected at all. The ag's gonna stay where the ag is.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, there's only so much land in Highgate.
Now,
But we're talking the airport.
But still, there's land out there too. How far are you gonna go? Hey, how many McDonald's and how many chicken places you gonna put in?
We're not gonna build out to the size of Burlington in 5 years. We're just talking slow expansion.
Yeah, well, do we want that in Highgate? I've lived here all my life. I look at you 4 board members, you haven't lived here. I don't wanna see change.
Richard, I grew up in Berlin.
Oh, Berlin,
There
it
is-
ain't Highgate.
Well, and then spent
Are we
most
gonna
of
pull the native
big
Vermonter
share of
card
my
here
life
at the
in-
select
Well,
board meeting?
Apparently that's what we just did.
Johnson.
Apparently that's what we just
We
did.
did, I just
We might
can't
need to
see all
go,
this.
we might need to go into
change.
executive
Wow,
for this.
can if you want. I don't-
You betcha.
I've been here since '86, I went to high school, college here, served in the Vermont Guard, served my country here. Don't pull the native Vermont card on me.
Oh, yeah, but I've been here since I was 5 years old.
Great.
And I raised my field here.
What's
My
your
point is, I don't wanna see change. You know, and I think we're going overboard here a little bit. Here we want Kentucky Fried Chickens and all that, and Highgate and restaurants and
He's not
McDonald's.
talking about all that being in the town of Highgate for starters.
He just said that.
No, he did not.
I don't know,
There's area
I
other than
just-
the town of Highgate that's gonna expand to other people. There's gonna be more jobs in the area coming from this
but there's
project.
only so much land, Kyle.
I
It
understand
wasn't gonna
that.
be in Highgate, it doesn't have to be all in Highgate.
Right.
But Richard,
Yeah?
if you don't own all that land, you don't know what's gonna be up. You don't know what's going to happen. People, you are gonna get expansion.
It's
The
inevitable.
people that lived here 50 years ago didn't think they were gonna get it. Guess what? It's here. It's been here. Every year, it expands, whether we like it or not.
now the state owns where the field days are. Would the state ever turn that around?
The state does own that. The state owns basically all that property. It leases those buildings out.
All the way to 78 it is. Where the,
Yeah,
where the.
subject.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
So, it's,
And are there intentions to develop to, as this needs it?
their intentions change with the administration.
Gotcha.
If you could answer that, my friend, you'd be a rich man.
I think right now,
I know I'm not, I'm speaking for myself, but we've talked about field days. And you could never move the field days. You never get enough money to move that anywhere else.
Right.
And that's where it belongs, is where it's sitting. Ultimately, that would be the state's decision. But I know I personally would fight tooth and nail, whatever I could do, to keep that field days right where it's
My
at.
understanding, the governor in office now says the same thing.
But the thing is, the talk of that happening, they started talking that about 4 years ago.
Yeah, right.
And I've heard out in the rumor mill that this project was one of the reasons why that was being pushed, which is simply not true. That's not how it happened. They started talking about this long before I was on this board. And I just want that to be known, because the state's gonna do with what they wanna do, and like Sharon said, it's the administration, whichever the wind blows their hair that day. And from a bulk guy.
So how much land is there available, not counting the air where the field days is? Do you know?
I don't personally know
Does
that.
anybody know?
I wasn't clear.
How much land is there available around that,
To develop.
to
around-
develop around?
Oh,
No, it's not state owned.
there's some big properties around there that are open.
Down below the,
Yeah,
Yeah, to
Yeah.
both the east and the west of the,
Yeah,
there's
behind.
there's
the-
potential space
There is.
to, yeah.
It's kind of a question for Shelley, I guess. Now, if this does go and they build warehouses and businesses, is the state still gonna own the land and we just, there would be two taxes? Or is the state gonna sell business or land and we tax the business as one, or is it gonna be two?
Well, the state's talking about, my understanding was putting in hangar space and some repair space, whereas the private developer is talking, he's got 30 odd acres and he's talking about putting in businesses like manufacturing or food
No,
processing.
state land there,
No, that's private land.
Yeah.
In circumstance.
Buildings that the state had leased out previously would be taxed on just the building, and then the
hangars
land,
that are there now, you just tax
the hangar.
Does the state pay us any, do you have a land tax in the state or something? Right now. So.
The state does
so if
not
you develop
pay,
state land.
state does not pay full grand list value.
If the state was
Absolutely
to build the hangars, I think you just said that the state was to build some hangars, would they be taxable?
The hangars would,
Yeah.
If the state built them, they would be?
well, if they were privately owned.
Right, but
Which
if the state
the
built
majority
them,
of them are.
or the airport built them, say the airport built some, outbuildings, blah, 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 for the airport, are those taxable?
Not if they're state owned.
If they're
They,
state owned,
they
right.
fall under that
So any buildings,
payment in lieu of,
built to support the airport, I guess,
Well,
directly would not be taxable.
we
if
get
the
some,
state
we
owns
get
them.
some payment in lieu of
We get
taxes.
payment in
from the
lieu
state.
of.
They tell us what it's worth, and they virtually tell us what they're gonna pay. I don't think Shelley would disagree with that. And it's supposed to, be equivalent somehow, but it isn't.
It was $20,000 for this fiscal year, and that's for all state-owned property in the town of Vermont. Sorry, yes, the town of Vermont.
It's all right, we know
You
you.
might come to that.
Highgate.
But the
Most of
other,
the hangars, basically, from,
How many you got
I've
left
known
there?
people who own planes, it's on airport property, but the hangars basically
They
are
own
theirs.
the building,
Right.
the hangar, yes.
And these hangars, you're not talking about, they're not holding just one plane, they're, depending how big they are, they could be 3, 4, 5, 6 planes in a hangar. There might be multiple owners of that
One hangar.
one hangar.
Typically, we had a hangar there, my husband and I had a hangar there. And typically, you'll find one plane
Yeah,
in the newer parts per hangar. You won't find 2 or 3.
I got a feeling though the newer ones.
Well, if
are
they're-
gonna be- Especially the ones they're planning on building now.
If they're a little larger, maybe so.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But then
you have to
again,
have a certain size hangar.
And it may not be the state that puts those there.
Right,
The airport is actually leased.
I was just a little confused, because who's gonna own the hangars? If they rent space out, they sell,
Right.
you know,
The individuals do get a tax bill for the hangar.
Mhm.
So I guess it would depend on the wheeling and dealing once it's done, who owns what.
But moving forward, is it correct to assume that the state could possibly build their own hangars and rent space out to them?
They could.
They could do whatever they want.
And at that time, would those hangars be taxable?
No, if
Okay.
they were leased. Well, I say that though, but all the other businesses are.
Right.
Are leased as
Yeah.
well, and they pay taxes.
Yeah,
Yes.
'cause Winchester pays taxes,
Yeah.
Lavier pays taxes.
If they are leasing the building, that building is getting taxed by the leaser.
Correct.
So same
I
kind of.
understand
Yeah.
that. If
Yeah.
the state was to get in the money-making business, okay,
Oh.
we're gonna make this airport profitable, we're gonna rent hangar space out. We're building the hangars, owning the hangars, we're renting this out to private people to put their planes in. Is that taxable?
Not if it's in their,
Not if they own it.
Lisa, is the state in the money-making business?
Not that I know of.
I don't think so either.
That would be a surprise to me, Sharon.
So you build all these hangars, do they need water and sewer?
It would depend on what type of clientele you want.
Right.
Do they have water and sewer in some of these hangars now?
Well, we didn't,
I don't believe,
but, and our neighbor
None of
didn't
that
either.
water
I
and sewer?
do not know.
don't believe so.
But if you wanted just a,
Stool?
I mean, if you wanted a more expensive plane, you wanted more affluent people to come, I would think that they would want the space to be able to put their vehicle inside and lock it up, to use the bathroom if they so desired before they took their trip or returned from that.
Certainly more convenient.
Right, yeah, I would think that those things would be expected.
So, I got a question for the select board. Vern, you brought some very good points on the overcrowding in other airports. Can we move forward with the expansion of the airport, getting everything going in it, the call for water and sewer there? Can we do it at a later time? Can we get the commitments from companies, industries, buyers? You follow what I'm saying? Can we get a commitment from them and then decide to move forward with this? Or do we have to move forward with it and hope and pray that we do get people to hook to it? You know,
From what I understand, from what Tim was saying when we had an informational meeting with the state, local reps, and everybody else here, and I think some of the business leaders, but the pent-up demand, just like for everything COVID right now, was there before this. They were looking to do this, knowing that the other project that's going on, the runway expansion, which is out of our hands, that's FAA federal stuff, that's gonna happen no matter what, at no cost to us.
right.
That everybody was looking at that and going, okay, great, they're gonna make this runway bigger, we wanna move there.
Can we get commitments from anybody? Have we got?
That I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
But-
We're committing to.
Verbally, I mean, people had
No.
expressed interest to all the economic development
right,
councils
but
around here,
that-
saying, hey, we need this and we will come there.
I mean, that's lip service.
I know one company in Burlington that's, I don't know if I can name their name, but they started small, they're getting pretty big. They already moved to Plattsburgh temporarily, and they wanna come up here
You
now
know,
too.
can we go and talk to these people? Can we feel them out a little better? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let's,
The only problem we have with that is that,
on me.
no, we're not in the warehouse or economic.
No, but what I'm saying, Sharon, is yes, the Highgate, town of Highgate is interested in bringing water and sewer up to support the infrastructure. If the infrastructure, some people want it. Tell us that you want it, you know, not lip
They
service either.
haven't told us as a select board, they've told all the councils we work with.
Sign on the dotted line and I say go for it. You know what I mean? Give us a guarantee.
What's Tim on?
Seems like a lot can happen.
Franklin County Economic.
Yeah, Frank County Economic, and there's a Northeast Regional something, they've all put the information out.
When Walmart came into St. Albans town, it ain't what
We wanna hear.
we could do
It's
for
really between them
Walmart.
and-
It's what we could do for the town. and the city of St.
I
Albans.
agree with you, Shelley.
They put a lot of money up front.
It seems as
To
if
get
we take a lot
Walmart
of
in
risk
there.
on this deal. That's
I
my
think these
concern.
developers should put some money up front so we could put the water and sewer in. But that's how Walmart operated, okay? They spent
Yeah.
lots and lots of money.
They did start that way, didn't the developer?
The developer put the money up so
Right.
they could get
But
the
this
town
one-
what they wanted. They gave the city what they wanted.
This airport project, wasn't it? The developer that was gonna invest his money, wanted us to invest ours too, but now I hear is investing
You
nothing.
know, and that's still a stickler, you know? We could put that out, we could put that in there, guys.
But-
And that developer decides to build houses there or put it back to a sand pit. We have no guarantee if we spend $3.5 million that it's getting developed. Because, like you said, it's either state-owned land or just one developer for now. So it's a risk. I mean, we have no, it's, to me, it's a lot of wishing and hoping without concrete
My
information.
understanding is that actually the driving entity behind this whole project, this whole idea, is the state aviation.
Then ask them for another
transportation
683,000 and we'll get her done. If they're pushing for it, so.
All right, Representative Ango, how's that gonna go over?
Probably not very well.
You know, this, sat in on one of your meetings, select board meetings through Zoom, and the outside pressure that you guys were getting put on you, I really felt bad for you. You had the representatives pushing on you, you had Swan Village pushing on you, you had the airport pushing on you. Why is everybody pushing on us so hard? If it's only $683,000 and it's a multi-million-dollar project, millions and millions are getting spent, seems to me they could take a little risk off the town of Highgate and give us a hand here.
What's your thought on that?
You know?
What is your thought on that?
They have. The state is giving you $100,000, but they want us to include their hookups, so that's $200 off, so that's $800,000 that they. Sorry. But that's $800,000 that'll go toward the project, so they're helping. Northern Borders is the grant that we have secured now, which is $507,000. So I mean, they're not asking to do it all.
The goal with this bond vote, Scott, is that we won't have to need one.
Absolutely.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's going to show that people want this project to move forward.
Mhm.
It will give Heidi the opportunity to continue finding the grant funds so we can not need a bond.
You know, probably one of the things that has me most uneasy is the developer pledging money early on in the project and backing out of it. That's the kind of person we're working with.
I agree with you there, Scott. I sat for 2 hours.
To me, that,
Excuse me, I
Listen
don't
to
know
the
if the
state.
developer has backed out. Somebody clarify it. Has he actually withdrawn his offer
No.
formally?
No, he has not.
so how come that is not in our figures then?
Because there is the state and the developer have been negotiating a land swap for a very long time. And they are hopefully making some sort of progress, but, so what he has said is until he knows how much he has to invest in that, and until he understands exactly what the potential is there, he has taken it off the table. So it is in limbo.
So the project's in limbo then?
Should be.
It should be.
The
That
state
needs commits.
and you know, your question is one of the best questions is like, what happens if we wait? What happens if we just push this out? And one thing you know for sure is that you will lose what funding we've already secured.
Right,
you
because
won't
we've got to
have-
the 14th, correct?
So you go back to square one. So that's a big push, but also the developer has put in writing to the grant authorities that he is ready to move forward. As soon as he can complete the land swap with the state or not, he said he's ready to move forward one way or the other. Put in writing that he will build a spec building within a year of that time. And in the time that we've been percolating on this, I've received several phone calls from, as Vern said, different companies that don't have any space anymore. We've also received a call from the National Guard. They wanted to know about our airport. Could they consider us in their 10-year plan? And as far as I know, we are one of 2 airports being considered for the National Guard.
Is it possible to get some commitment from these people expressing interest?
Well, that's the challenge, and we talked about it. We talked about it with FCIDC and with the landowner, and he said they will not release names. And typically, when someone's looking at a property, they sign a non-disclosure agreement that you cannot say. We have heard many rumors that there are transformational businesses that are looking at our airport, but there is no way to get any commitment until a deal is done. And so unfortunately, that's the unknown. But The question is, if you don't build the water and sewer, those lots will be created. They will be created differently because they will have to plan for water and sewer, so there will be fewer lots. And the uses may occur before you decide to build the water and sewer, and then they would be the less valuable uses
But no risk.
that come, and that is true. So that's the
With no
decision
risk.
for you is, you know, do you
We're
want to
being
get the best,
pushed in-
highest use?
Yeah, thank you for your comment about people pushing on us,
It's
because
horrible.
we are being pushed into this, I don't think there's any question. But, we also, there is the biggest piece of this, potential funding, sitting out there in limbo. We had to make a decision by the end of May about applying to our senatorial and federal representative offices for funding for projects. And this is what we focused on, and we've got an application sitting out there for $2 million. We don't know anything about it right now, other than they received it. We could get enough money to pay for everything else, and there'd be no bond, no cost to the town. It would all be handled through grants, most of them federal.
And Scott, you know me well enough to know that I don't push, or I don't get pushed. And you and I have had the conversation about risk. I'm not crazy about risk. I am in favor of the project, like you said. But like I said, there's no better time. There's extra money out there. If I was gonna do it, I'd do it now. If we're gonna wait, I guess that'll determine the next 20 years of your town.
You know, there's more options to wait, like Heidi said, we can sit still, let it evolve,
It's,
you know?
My understanding, which is what Shelley said, by voting yes on this bond, you're hoping you never have to go for the bond.
Exactly.
And so that was my question earlier was, if, say none of this comes to fruition, we don't get any more money, what's the town on the hook for? Can we say, you know what, we're backing away from this project, you have your money back, you have your money back?
Yeah, you can.
Then to me, we're crazy not to go for it. Because there's no way this board would vote, I can't speak for the board, obviously, what am I doing? I would never vote for the taxpayers to have to pick up that whole $683,000 bill. I would never vote for that.
So that's.
But the whole idea is, this month,
That's very interesting to hear, Kyle.
that's my opinion though, okay? Because I think this is a good project.
I do too.
And I think that a lot of good things will come out of this. And we're not looking at it for us as much as we are our kids and our kids' kids down the road. 20 years, 30 years, 50 years. No, I was not brought up in this town. I was brought up in the next one over, okay? But I know what this town is. I worked in this town for 22 years. I know more people in this town than I did in the town I lived in, okay? The reason why I wanted to be on this board was because I like to try to help people. And I look out for the people first. I come on it with no agenda, this board with no agenda, but we're looking out for the people. And I'm looking out for the generations after us, after I'm long gone in dust.
And I couldn't agree with you, Kyle. That's what makes me question this so intensely, is I've seen some decisions made in the town that we're still paying for today. Lands, you know, the dump, we got two of them. We've got the landslide here, and then we've got the Jedward property, you know? They were good ideas at the time, Kyle. But now they're just costing us. And I just wanna make sure we explore the good and the bad side of it all.
Well, to me, that
You know,
is,
we're,
bottom line, that's where it's at for me.
you follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
That's why I've gotten so involved in this, because I know the two other problems that were good for the town at the time. They generated income.
the transfer station still does it.
Yes, it does.
It does.
I don't know if it's gonna fix that landslide for us.
Well, we had gone as far as to consider the sale of it at one time.
Right.
And
But what I'm saying is, without the dump, if we still own that piece of property, the transfer station would still be making us the money. It's the actual old dump that is the concern, if I'm not mistaken. You know, we got that one, and we've got the other one, and gee, what I'm afraid of is this is gonna cost us money 20 years down the road, you know, instead of making us money. You know, it may make us money for 20, 25 years, but all of a sudden, we're upgrading sewers and we're going backwards on income, you know?
What you just said is what we grappled over for the last year.
That's my
We've
concern.
gone back and forth, you know, that's the negative. What you said right there is the negative,
Absolutely.
absolutely the negative.
But
And do we think that it's worth gambling to take that chance?
That's the question.
That's the question.
Scott, you're a farmer.
Mhm.
What are you gonna make for your milk 2 months from now?
That's right, but I'm losing my money. I ain't losing all yours.
Right, but it's a risk.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's a risk you take for your family, for your
Absolutely.
future, for your
Build
parents.
houses.
Yeah, let's develop it all. It'll be a lot easier. We're gonna hurry up and do it before we get our impact fee in.
Go
Just to throw something else into the ball, do we have the option to purchase this land so we know what we could do? I'm not in favor of the town buying more land, but is that an option or is that just open? I'm just throwing it out there. Is that open a whole nother can of worms if,
The developer's land?
yes?
Yeah, I
Does that put us into being the developer after that or do you
Yeah,
sell it
yeah.
to another
It'll be a
developer?
whole
that-
cannery of worms to
Yeah.
be opening, and I don't believe that developer would be the
And I
most
guess what Bruce is saying, he would like to see
No,
a little
just-
more control.
I'm not-
over
I-
the-
I don't
If he
believe-
declined to do it after
Of
we
our
do all
investment.
this,
He says he's gonna do something regardless, one way or another. He's gonna develop something over there, period.
Right now, there's no money in that land until there's something on it. So he's incentivized to build
we
on
should
it.
be able to buy it cheap, you're saying.
I think that's why FCIDC is so excited about this project, because there's a lot of other properties that could be developed in industrial parks, but there isn't a developer front and center and saying, I'm gonna build a spec building. And that's the difference that makes it more exciting.
So when you say
More than a warehouse? Is there gonna be more than a warehouse, or is it gonna be,
Well, it's gonna depend on if the
If
water
there is
sewer.
water and
right,
sewer.
will there be
yeah.
more there besides that, in that building? or-
Yes, because all of those people that have called here, I forwarded all that information to Jim, and I don't know, Vern, if you can, Scott had asked the other night at the planning commission meeting, and I can't answer, but what would be the benefit of having the National Guard come? What does that bring to the airport if they were to join?
I'm not speaking on behalf of this is the Army National Guard we're talking about, helicopters, not the F-35s, those are staying in Burlington, so there'll be no noise, not like
Don't
that.
go there.
We won't go there and raise that issue. But, no, they are, so they've got new Lakotas, they got the new Blackhawks, they actually got top of the line stuff, here, but they're also running out of room there in Burlington. They wanna come up here, you guys have, everybody's probably seen them, come up here at nighttime, do some of their night training. So it'd be easy for them if they could be up here right at this airport. They're not that loud. It would bring infrastructure up here, so, you know, a building for them in a large hangar to fill up some of the space that's available now. It would bring some jobs, and
On
those are,
state land or,
I don't know.
like, do you have, like, Jimmy's land now, how many businesses could be,
I have a,
would he be able to put on there?
There's only 30 acres there, right?
16 or
Seven
17, I
lots.
think.
Well, that's all?
Yeah.
7 lots?
Seven.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do believe the airport is recruiting businesses on the airport property.
Oh,
And
okay,
the
yeah.
National Guard would be located on the airport, not on Jim's property.
The thing that would come also too with the guard is, and it came with the air guard when I used to be there, but they have their own firefighting. And that's a benefit to the town. That's free firefighting paid by the government for the town, to augment our guys and gals. Policing, I don't know about military police, that kind of thing. They can't really do much off the reservation kind of thing, but, the firefighting would be a huge thing to
So
help the
that brings
town.
up a question, is the town of Highgate responsible for a plane crash fire? Or does the airport have its own fire department? Just a question.
At that point, we
We
don't
are,
know.
we are no matter what.
We are, no
Whether
matter what.
it's on the state airport, or in your backyard, or
In the town of
on
Highgate,
78.
All emergency services.
Yes.
It's not just one.
So we would be responsible to respond to any accidents on
Yes.
the runway.
The
Yes.
only difference with that is if they did connect to the water from Swanton Village, then we would eat that cost.
But
I
yes.
I just thought about this, but if the Guard is thinking about coming there in the next 10 years, they're gonna definitely want some kind of municipal water system. They wouldn't be able to, they wouldn't wanna be on a well, especially if they bring firefighting.
Okay, so I'm gonna put an end to this topic for now, so that we're not all here till midnight. But thank you very much for all of your questions and information and your thoughts, because they are important. Okay. Ada, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Not bad. So Ada is our new librarian. So if you haven't met her, so can you give us an update?
Absolutely. So the library is back
Recording in progress.
with regular hours again. We've been open for about 2-3 weeks now with regular return hours. And then after the governor's mandate, we're no longer restricted by how many people we can have in the library. Before our restriction was at 16. Now we're back to regular fire code restrictions. And I'm no longer requiring masks in the library if patrons have been vaccinated, which is so that's big update there. We're also beginning to offer in-person programming again, which was something that we did intermittently during COVID. However, most of the programming was virtual. We're still offering virtual programming as well, especially this summer with our summer reading program. And that's just in case people don't feel comfortable coming into the library. That way they can still take part in programming, just like everybody else that is coming in. A lot of our summer programming this summer will be taking place in our backyard. And we are working on purchasing a large heavy-duty weatherproof tent for outside, and that will stay up throughout the entire summer. This Saturday is our summer reading kickoff program on the 19th, and we have summer reading registration, we're having games and craft activities for the kids, and then we have summer program prizes that our friends group has generously donated to the library. And we have prizes for adults, teens, preteens, and for younger children as well. We also have a book giveaway, and we also at 1 o'clock will be having a visit from the Southern Vermont Natural History Museum with live animals from around Vermont. Very excited for that this Saturday. And then next Thursday we have a big community conversation event that's taking place at 6 p.m. in the library backyard, open to everybody in Highgate. Anyone can attend, and then we're just going to discuss ways that we can further grow and develop the town, and specifically how the library can help with that. So that's it for programs and general updates. We'll have several other programs throughout the summer as well. Some of them will, as I said, take place virtually, and then most of them will be in person now. And everything is geared around animals this summer, as our theme this year is Tales, Animal Tales, and Tales. Moving on to grants, we received the Summer Matters grant, the library and the rec center, for $31,000. And we have from now through September 15th to spend the funds. It is a reimbursement program, so they will be reimbursing us each month for $31,000 up to September 15th. It is about a 30 to 60 day turnaround for reimbursement. Found out the other day, so it will take a little while to be reimbursed, but by September 15th, we will be reimbursed for the full $31,000. Now, the funding will be used to purchase lots of amazing things. First and foremost, we're going to be purchasing mountain bikes, and then we'll also be purchasing paddle boards and storage equipment, all of the necessary safety equipment for the paddle boards and for mountain bikes, helmets, life jackets, sports equipment and craft supplies specifically for the rec center to get them started. The library tent will come out of this $31,000 as well. Staff training, so CPR first aid will be covered by it. Transportation for any off-site programming, and funds to hire performers for engaging in educational programming will also come out of the $31,000 as well. So one big thing is thank you to the select board for allowing us to use the barn for storage for the bikes and paddle boards. We're going to be using the bikes and paddle boards for joint programming between the library and the rec center. And we're hoping that in the future, once the summer is past, we're going to be renting out the equipment for any programs that the rec center and the library puts on. It will obviously be free of charge for everyone to use, but it'll hopefully bring in some revenue through the rec center. And then beyond that, I also applied for a $15,000 federal grant to support a year of humanities-based programming here at the library. So that will be bringing in performers, author talks, crafters, basically anything that could potentially fall under the humanities umbrella. So waiting to hear back on that. And then I also today just received word the library received the Vermont Children's Trust grant, which is for $8,000. And that is for a year of team programming. So any craft supplies, anything that can fall underneath the team programming, snacks, anything will be basically under that $8,000 grant funding, which is fabulous. And then the big push is trying to gain funds for our capital campaign. We did send out letters this fall to local businesses and then businesses are built. And we've received some money back from capital campaign. The most recent check we received was for $750 specific to the capital campaign, and that was from Community Bank. So we're very thankful that they thought of us and sent us some money. So bit by bit, we're just trying to grow the campaign and hopefully build our nice big library in the future. That is it for me. I don't know if anybody has any questions they want to ask.
Ada, I want to say thank you. You have brought a lot of money into the town for these programs, and I know Lee and you and Lee, worked together hard on the $31,000 grant, and that opens up a lot of opportunities for the citizens of Highgate, and we appreciate that. And we're very proud of the work you're doing. We're super excited that you are our librarian.
Well, I'm super excited to be here at Highgate. I've been loving every minute of working here and getting to meet everybody. It's been really amazing.
Well, we're proud of you and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
All right, have a good night. Thank you. Okay, Shelley.
Move right along.
Yes, we are.
Okay. I've got the check warrant on top for you.
Does everybody have a chance to look at the check warrant?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to sign the check warrant?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, while you're signing that, quick update, next Sharon has the list, she can pass it around if you want to see. The naughty list is getting down there. I did send another round of letters stating that it was going to get pretty expensive for them real quick. So I did have a couple of people come in and pay their tab, and a couple more come in to start some payment arrangements. But we're down to $56,218.39 as of today.
That's awesome.
Putting yourself out of a job, kid.
I know, I know. It's okay. It's much easier this way than it is fighting with them later. The other thing I have is at the bottom of the pile, I had sent you guys an email maybe last week about the Sullivan Powers scope of services, which basically just goes through everything they're going to go through when they're here. So there are two of the exact same forms. One gets mailed back to them. One Wendy will record in our land records. so we can refer back to it if we need to, and then I keep it in my files. Jordan will be here on July 1st, just to go through the initial year end, see how we, just a blanket, if anything sticks out to him, what can we correct right now? And then they'll be back, I believe, sometime in August. It's not set in stone yet with the actual audit. A couple of things that have come up just in the last couple of days. Lynn, you are on my list to talk about. Do you want to say what you wanted us to say for you about the monument?
Yes, please.
You want me to talk about it?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Lynn called, and I don't believe she was alone in noticing that there are some cherubs that live very close by to the new monument that have been playing on it.
Oh, no.
So, I don't know what we can do about it as a public monument. I don't know if a letter might be sent, if that would even help, but it is being used as a recreational area.
You don't have anything else?
Hmm?
You don't have anything else?
So, yeah, that just to bring to your attention, and I don't know. Did you have anything to add to that, Lynn?
Maybe you see.
I mean, I don't even know what we can add,
I
really.
really don't. I realize children need to play. I mean, they're playing, and it's a beautiful place to play. I just don't feel that the area was intended to be a playground, but I don't know what can be done.
Would the board be okay if I went and spoke with him?
I would be delighted.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a relationship with him, and I think that it's one of those things that I would like the opportunity to just go talk to him.
Can't hurt.
And probably carries the most weight of the options at this point.
Well, I bet it definitely carries the most weight, no question about that, Sharon. I think it's Menegas beef, and I was told that the other day, so it's okay.
Lastly, we have the new owners or the buyers of Priscilla Greenier's property on Lamping Street came in this morning and are questioning the tiny piece, 0.12 acres of land that the town of Highgate owns in front of the cemetery. And it came up a couple of years ago at town meeting. I believe the voters in the room wanted some more information as far as if there was agreement. There's nothing in this office with an actual formal agreement between the church and the town. But they are definitely interested in purchasing it if it was to go out to bid.
Can we check back on the minutes? And I can't tell you when.
I was
But
trying
I
to remember the year today.
Thought the select board at the time said give it to the church.
Give it to the church. Okay.
That was, I might be off
3 years
left
ago?
field, but
3 years ago,
Didn't we
Sharon?
sit on a committee, Sharon, me, you, and Henry Rainville, and discuss those pieces of property?
yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
I
they
can't
went-
remember the outcome of that one either.
Well, we got a vote at town meeting to sell the Cherry Hill property and the property up here, where Schultz.
Yes, the Dalcor property.
Yeah, which those both sold, and that other slice was put up for tax sale, but it didn't bring anything and didn't go anywhere, and I thought the select board said give it to the church, but I wouldn't swear to it.
My memory, which is not good either, was the people in the audience at town meeting wanted to make sure that there was not an agreement with the church and the town before we sold it. But
I think it was 3 years ago, Tommy,
Yeah,
you can go back to the
because I was
minutes.
definitely moderator, I remember that conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So if you are willing, you would have
Sure.
have a buyer.
Gotcha.
With the Elwood property, just in speaking with them this morning, the Elwood property, I believe we put out to bid publicly. And, I mean, maybe the church would acquire it that way if they so chose. Just a thought. But I'll go back to the minutes and I'll have it at the next
Do
meeting.
you know if it's
Or have
something the
my-
church would want? Because I don't know how that would benefit them either.
Right,
Just something else to keep them on.
right.
At one time, they did use it for parking. I've been here a good number of years and I can recall.
They typically park all inside the fence now, though, for several years.
Right, but at one time, that was a
That was the
parking
Yeah.
area. Talking back in the 40s, 50s, you know, some.
Right.
Before the fence.
And I think that was the discussion, was there a formal agreement with the town and the
Mhm.
church about
About that
that?
area.
I know, there's nothing formal here, so.
Yeah, if you don't
I'll
mind
look in
checking
the
that
minutes,
way,
yep,
we keep in following with whatever our intent was supposed to be for the Lord.
that's all I have.
Okay, so do I have a motion to sign the Sullivan Powers and Company scope of services contract?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Once I get my pen back.
Here, I got lots of fence.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Would you like us all, shall we?
Yep, that'd be great, I don't know how many lines are on there.
3, but we can manage.
Okay.
Why don't you keep yours?
All right.
Yours will get back to me.
Thank you.
Oops, 2 copies. Hang on, Richard, please.
All right. Any other questions for Shelley? Okay.
Are you still working?
Hmm?
Your computer is off. Is your video still working?
Should be.
Because I can disconnect you from this.
Okay, so Wendy is not present tonight. She has the unfortunate duty of going to a funeral. So we have the minutes from June 3rd. So has everyone had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
Did everyone see the edited minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So can I have a motion to accept the edited minutes from June 3rd?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Heidi.
Starting off with the grant and aid. You have an offer for the same program you've used for the last couple of years for a grant. Starting amount is $13,500. Sometimes as they are assessing other towns that don't buy in, you end up getting a
Turkey Road.
Turkey Road.
Sorry, Turkey Road.
I think you had a motion.
Yes,
in a second.
okay, a second, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I'm gonna skip to the other things you need to sign before I go through there. So FEMA cost overrun. So I mentioned last time that the archaeological assessment needed to have a phase 1 performed. And you had the assessment last time. FEMA did approve a cost overrun for that, so the form is in your packet. So they did agree to cover the amount of that at 75%, same as the rest of your grant. And then we can move forward with that assessment.
Okay, so can I have a motion to sign the FEMA grant award in the amount of $3,130.50?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And when you finish with that, you can also please sign the agreement from the consultant. Crown Consulting, they will be performing the assessment for a total cost of $4,771.
Okay, do I have a motion to sign that agreement?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so Butch and I have been talking with Richard about we've become aware that the road to our brush dump isn't on our town map. So we've done a little bit of looking. It looks like we did find in the deed that the town took the property that there was a reference to an old town road. So the question is, does the town want to proceed with this and maybe do a search and make sure that we have that road and get it added to the map?
Gentlemen?
I think that's a good idea.
We should.
You talking about the brush dump right next to the transfer station?
No,
Okay.
down the road, right past where they made the repair on 78, where that culvert is. There's a little road there behind Ty Schwinger's house.
Okay, on the west side of the
Yes.
street there. All right, yeah.
There's a map in that little packet there, kind of runs parallel with the rail trail.
Well, I had a name, if that mobile home was there, I can almost picture the sign, but I don't remember what the name of that road was.
Yeah, Richard said he did talk to Charlie Nye, and he said he remembers it being a road, but I don't know if he remembered a name or not.
Yeah, because that trailer was owned, well, the land was leased out to the Mountain Journal.
Everybody
There's
else
still a
know
new
what
well
it
there.
was? So you're saying someone would need to research it first?
Well, V-Trans has done some research. They did find it on an old map. But I don't know if we would have to go beyond that and pay someone. V-Trans may be able to resolve the whole issue for us and get it back on the map. But
Because
finding out your intent is,
it came up when the rail trail, when they repaired the rail trail, it made it impossible for us to get to our stone dump and the concrete dump. I spoke with them, they have fixed it, so it's possible, but it's still not what needs to be.
So they had
In the trucks, they just put.
their big
stone.
stones.
It's still ditched.
Oh,
They put inch and a half stone in the ditch so we can get through, but it's gonna be hard on our trucks a little,
right.
we're gonna have to do something with it. Maybe we'll have to put a cover, but I'm sure it'll be, we're gonna have to be okay by then, whatever we do.
Gentlemen, your pleasure.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay. I have a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That'd be a class 4.
I would assume so. I don't know if you'd want to call it a trail or, it's up to you and the selectmen how you'd like it to be, I think. I'll keep you posted what V-Trans says.
But wouldn't that be better to go forward?
Okay.
Next issue is the building we talked about last time on Frontage Road, which we'd like to take down. Do have to do a little bit of testing first. Hopefully it won't be a lot, but I would need your permission to make a few phone calls and see if I could get an estimate to have the testing done. And just going by some other projects we had done, we paid $700 for a consultant and $650 for lab testing. And we did some work before.
What would it cost us to have sell it over the hamper and just put it in there and haul it off? Any idea?
You don't want the legal liability without testing because you're a town.
So we get a test regardless.
Yeah. Yeah. If it were you in your backyard, well, I'm not saying anything, but the liability for the town is such that you
Well,
want, you want to cover your behind.
Well,
That's the first rule.
they are stopping other private landowners too that are doing it, making them do the testing, so.
Yeah, if it's at midnight, then it's just saying.
Because it's getting to be a problem there. The kids are in there.
The whole thing is,
Trying
the whole thing was
pieces
burned though, right?
No,
No, it isn't.
no, it's only half.
Why, so the backside of it's not burned at all, it's just the top.
It's just hanging, the kids are in there, they're,
Fire department did a really good job in there.
yeah, too good. But they're taking pieces of it, dragging it all out where we're getting our winter sand and there's tin and
Yeah,
they're
nails
dragging it out and they
everywhere.
burn the wood on it. Eventually it'll be all down, but it's kind of a safety issue right now.
Can we, until it gets tested, can we have them at least get it knocked down and pull the tin off of it? Is that something we can do, or no, you can't touch it until it's been tested?
Yeah,
Okay, just,
I asked that.
all right, I was curious.
yeah, unfortunately. Okay, so do I have a motion to allow Heidi to go forward with the consulting and the lab test?
So moved.
Do I second? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Class 4 roads. I put that under select board so you can have that conversation with Butch while that's here. We talked about it last time. There's just a little bit more information added in there for you. We have started the environmental assessment for the transfer station stabilization project. And we will hopefully have that done within 4 to 6 months.
Do you want to do the vending ordinance?
Yep, Luke is here, so you can have that discussion.
Okay, Luke, what do you think?
The old one was great.
Very straightforward.
Okay, so we sort of borrowed from St. Albans, almost copied.
No reason to reinvent the wheel.
No. Basically, we just, in our last meeting, we did away with, or we think it doesn't belong there. If they want to do vending on private property, that, to us, it should go through the DRB. We see no need, right? The DRB is perfectly set up to handle those kind of permits. But for public properties is what we want to do it for, and the biggest question is who's going to grant the permits and who's going to be the juror, I guess, if you want to call it that, should there be an appeal. And it sounds like we have to have the permits done within 15 days or so.
Well, that's the way St. Albans is written. I'm not sure that's in statute, so you might have some flexibility. One of the suggestions that Ed had is if the select board wants to retain we've always issued the permits for municipal property, so he said what you could do is appoint one person from the board, or maybe two people, to chat it out and issue the permits, and then if there's an appeal, the whole board could hear it. Otherwise, you have me or somebody issue the permit, and then you're the board of appeal. So that's one of the biggest questions is how do you want to continue to manage the permits? And if you had one person doing it, then they could issue it within 15 days. And there's nothing stopping them from discussing it with the other members of the board too, so.
As long as it wasn't more than one member at a time.
Well, you could have two.
Two, you just can't
Right,
have
two,
three.
you can't have more than two people. So you can talk to them individually, everybody, but you cannot have a.
Meeting.
Right.
You can, you just have to warn it. Thoughts?
I like the idea of what she said, with have two members. And then if it gets, if it gets appealed, then you have the whole board. Buck stops with us. It's not a job I think should be pawned off to anybody else.
I think that's workable.
Okay. Are we making that a motion?
Well, I
Or are
think.
we just
if it-
rewriting our ordinance for regulation?
I think we wanted to get your intentions on all of this, and then if this is what you want, we'll come up with another draft for you and get another final comment from Ed on this is what you've decided to do, what else do you need to do to make that happen?
Heidi, the other thing we left open-ended on it was for long periods of time, if the select board wanted to negotiate a price. So we had set the price, I believe, at $25 a day. But if you got somebody who wants to stay in, do it every Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the weekend, we don't want to discourage it by overpricing. So I believe in there somewhere we left it kind of open for long term, that
Yes.
the select board had negotiation abilities on the price.
Yeah, it should be in the ordinance, and it's also on the application, and
Yeah, it's on the third page on the wall.
the select board may negotiate a reduced rate for extended periods of time if they deem it beneficial to the residents. That could say whatever you wanted it to say.
2 days, get 1 day free, something like that.
Right. So we didn't want to discourage, if the residents are liking it, we wouldn't want to discourage somebody being in there by overpricing it.
The other one we had is the a dollar amount for a bond requirement for, say, making sure they keep the place clean or something like that. And then we figure if you put a big enough dollar amount on there, that they'll be more apt to want to clean up their.
What was the number that you guys, that your board was talking about?
We've got $500.
$500, exactly what I was
But that's,
It's exactly what I was sitting here thinking. $500.
they know they're gonna get their money, they're gonna lose their money because they decided to leave $10 worth of trash on there.
It's just that.
Sitting there instead of
Our public
cleaning.
works department doesn't need to be cleaning up after
No.
them.
Right.
No.
I don't know, we didn't ask Butch.
Yeah, we think about that much.
So I had put 200 in there, I think it
Was it? I
said
can't remember.
200.
I thought it was 200 too, Heidi.
Oh, okay.
I see 500, that's why
I thought it
I'm
was,
the one
I
who
thought we
said
had
this
done
morning.
zero.
Oh.
To me, it's just like the notch. They got a $2,400 fine if you try to take a tractor trailer to the notch. They said a $10,000 fine, I bet you this there, no sign.
I bet no.
GPS said to go.
Yeah, that's
Also,
exactly.
Heidi, on 9.3, you had the fee for a permit on private property, shouldn't have public property.
Oh, yeah.
So we're allowing vending on private property, no permit, no nothing,
That's
is
true.
that?
Yeah.
That's through the
Oh,
DR.
the parks would be your, okay.
It would
Like
be-
Pickle Snack Shack went through the DRB to get the conditional use permit.
We just had an issue with on private property to us, I go, this sounds more like the DRB thing. If they want to set up a business on their own land, then the DRB set up for parking, noise, time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And more likely it'll probably be more of a recurring business or something if it's on private property.
Any other comments for this?
The other one we had a little bit was, and I know we went through it a little bit with Pickles last fall, was electricity rate. We decided $10 a day. And I sort of went according is at the field days, at least for us, and I don't know how it is, but I got a feeling a lot of the other food vendors, except for some of the big guys, we're charged a rate per foot on our space, and then we're charged an extra $50 on top of that for electricity for the time that we're there. So we figured $10 to $15 a day should they want to use power from the town supply, that it'd probably be sufficient, but that again is up to you guys. We plug the number in and
Yeah, most of those are all it's gas anyways, most of it as far as uses.
yeah, but mostly
think.
like lighting and
Right.
exhaust fans, stuff like that. That's where the power comes in.
It's just obviously not a money generator, it's just something to give a service to the people in the town.
Right, we
As
did.
long, we just wanted it to cover the cost for the town.
Exactly, yeah.
We don't want the town, well, we shouldn't be making money on electricity. We always could, but just doesn't seem right. We're not the power company. But we should at least be covering our costs.
And 6.5, Adrian had added in 6.5, putting a time limit on a vendor on municipal property that would kick it to the DRB. And the DRB, the planning commission was not in favor of that, so it did send it back to Ed, and he did say, at some point it would constitute development under development regulations, so maybe set a time, like 3 months or something like that. That's still an ongoing discussion, but I think what he's saying is, at some point, they need to get a building permit, or, you know, to get a real permit if they're gonna operate there indefinitely. So,
Well, and it would change the owner, if you're a private owner, it would change your land use. You know, you'd be a percentage of business, I would think.
right, but this one's only referring to your property, municipal property. So all these references in here are just if someone wants to use municipal property, they come to you. And if they want to do it on their own property, then they have to go to the DRB. But he was suggesting if they were to stay there longer than 3 months, they should go to the DRB. Yeah.
I'd be in favor of changing that 1 week to 1 month. I don't know if I'd be willing to go 90 days. Just because what if you have an obnoxious, what if somebody's making too much noise and you can't sleep at night, or,
Can you have, with the right of renewing it for another month if everything's going right? Would it be something like that?
I would think, yeah, want to be a kind of a conditional. Because basically it would take the whole summer if you did 3 months.
So I got a question from Sharon, I guess we never really discussed it much, but on the public property, we didn't set any parameters of saying that they can't be open till 2 in the morning and have music blaring out of the
Right.
out of the thing for attention. We didn't get into any of that, so and you just made me think of that.
Right.
Should we go after it a little finer and put some of that
You
detail
really
in
should
it?
have some type of noise ordinance.
Noise and
attached to
time,
it.
you don't want,
Right, yeah.
there's gotta be a certain time, and we
Yeah.
never talked about that. It just clicked in my brain.
Yeah, we never.
Do we have a sunset on the park?
There's a statewide noise ordinance for sunset to sunrise, because it changes, I know that exists.
Sign is what, 9 or 10 o'clock, that's out there now.
Yes.
Because they,
10?
I believe so.
they would have to set the hours with whoever you choose to do it, and then they would have to follow all the park rules, so no smoking, no alcohol, public intoxication, trash must be appropriately taken care of. Pets are responsible, and you could say the hours of the park apply. But if you don't want them going until 9, because
Right.
they're
I
gonna be
think you should
running a
have a set time.
generator, then
I
you
think you should have a
set
set
it.
time,
Yeah,
So
You
say
said
in
it.
the application.
because they're not gonna make any money at 10 o'clock
Liability.
anyways, they're not
Right.
making any money out of it. You want them, to me,
They're
8 o'clock.
responsible for that.
unless it's like,
Would it be on a case-by-case basis, depending what type of vendor you have?
Right, yeah, if
You're
you're.
sitting on
I
a
think
kind
maybe
of
it'll be a
property.
part
You
of
wanna
each
give it more
individual
than-
permit,
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot better.
like a
Food and stuff
decision
like
letter,
that.
like the
Right.
DRC.
Yeah.
Here's your conditions with your permit.
Yeah.
which is what we did with pickles. You said the hours
That's the
they
way to
could
go.
be there,
Yeah.
and they had to clean up, and so on the application, it does ask for that information.
There's one thing that I never thought of, and that's, we have to have it, is like proof of insurance
Yeah.
Yeah,
for the vendor.
it's right on the application. They're supposed to attach a copy of any applicable
Oh,
document,
there it is, yes, yes, yes.
license, insurance, tax certificates, health inspections, menus, flyers, whatever, and a map of where they intend to be located, and a deposit.
Yeah, I like the idea of Shelley's, where you have a decision letter with your permit.
Yeah, that's the way to go. That's where they pay the big bucks.
Yeah. Because the library selling used books and the,
Right, it's not gonna make any
Yeah.
noise.
yeah, having a Friday night bash out here at midnight. Be a little different.
It's like fun.
Okay.
So, are we, basically sending these back to the planning commission?
Yes.
You didn't reach hell when you're the outfit.
Yeah.
Please respectful part.
Okay. So we also have some letters here to sign. We have a letter for Camp Precast for their donation for the memorial. If you haven't already signed the letter for the Harrisons for their donation of concrete. We also have one for Richard Smith, who helped get that project started. We have one for Andy King because he graciously removed the graffiti from the old brick factory that was witnessable by the rail trail. So he went over and he cleaned that up. It's just a small picture of some of the damage. And then lastly, we have a letter to the governor thanking him for his support for the airport. So if I can have a motion to sign all of our letters.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So, class 4 roads, Butch. What you think?
Richard?
Ask the buck is what he thinks.
We
I don't know.
discussed it a little bit.
Yeah, class 4 roads, I think the problem is, I know we're hearing some complaints around that we've got one class 4 road, we really don't know if it's a trail or if it's a class 4 road. The owner blocked it off where to switch from Highgate to Franklin, and I think he's calling it a trail. I think being blocked off, you know, we got older people riding there. I think it's a great place to ride your ATV or your 4-wheeler, you know, and it's a loop and everything. I don't know. I'm feeling that somebody's going to come in there and hit that cement that's there, and I think it's going to be the town's going to be reliable for it. You know, I don't know. I know we looked up, Butch and I did yesterday, and Nick, and it did say that if somebody blocked off a trail, even a trail, it was, and somebody ran into it, the town was reliable, because it was town road. I just, I don't know what we can do, or, you know, and some of these roads, are they trails, are they class 4 roads, you know, and the other thing is, like down, Rob could tell, we talked about that. I don't know, I think, talking to Butch, we can't afford to help him right now, we don't have the funds. If he got the material, I think we read that yesterday, if we got the material, we would, the town would do the work for it. But on the other hand, I think, is there a way to talk to him? Do we put a little bit of money, say, have the planning, talk to the planning commission and put a little bit of money away for these class 4 roads and to keep them up, and even
It would
some.
be part of the regular budget.
Right.
Not part of the
Okay.
planning commission.
Okay, well,
But yes.
you know, so, you know, I just think that there's something, you know, and I think some of these roads, you look at a lot of these roads and I think they're a good place. Some of these trails are a great place for 4-wheelers to ride. But, you know, I think they're doing a great job on this rail trail. It's beautiful now, and I hate to see it all dug up when we do got roads out there that we can go on.
Wasn't that a class 4 road back 4 or 5 years ago? And they turned it over to a trail?
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard. I talked to Richard, I think Butch talked to Richard, or Heidi, one of them.
You have the map in front of you. You have the map, it
Okay.
shows you what the roads classifications are.
But that is a trail, I think Richard told me it was a trail from their silo. It's all the way to the Franklin line. And that's right on that culvert, the way I understand it.
But I understand, I got a notification back, a certified letter, that they were gonna discontinue that for class 4 to a trail.
Yeah, and I think they did, Donnie, and because Nick looked it up yesterday, and it's only 0.5 or something like that. That's a class 4 road. Right now, is it class 4, class 3 to the farm?
Right. That's class 3.
Yeah, and then it goes to used to be a class 4 from there out.
Right to the Franklin line.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Richard, I know what you're getting at. I've had instances there where I had to go down and do some custom work, and my wife brought me dinner on my gator, and she got yelled at and threatened and the whole 9 yards for using that road. Yeah, and that is consistent. Kyle, go take your side-by-side, drive through there very respectfully, you're gonna get your ass chewed.
But it isn't right.
It's not right, and the town needs to do something about it.
Too small.
You know, yeah, it's too small.
You know, it's pretty brutal.
I'm not sure. Which road is it, guys?
Bushard.
It's pretty brutal, you know. My wife and my young son got Greendale for using it. It's gotta be 5, 6 years ago now. You know, I took it upon myself to deal with it. I didn't get the town involved, but it's definitely an issue.
Break off Cassidy.
And the speed limit's posted 35 through there. If you drive 115, you're getting phone calls, you're getting fingers, you're getting threatened, the whole night. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's
Oops.
it's out of control, in all honesty. They're very lucky I don't own land up further.
What's that?
Really? It does. I truck for them, roll up through
It
there.
looks like
15
it
miles
says
an hour.
LT, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was following a chopper up through there, with a tractor and a
Oh, I
dump
just
wagon.
figured it out.
A chopper and a truck wagon. They noticed who was in that tractor, okay? They called Matt, tell him to slow down. Here I was following a chopper going probably 10, 12 miles an hour.
Butch, do you agree it's a legal
It's
trail?
bad.
out there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So legal trail, it shouldn't be blocked, should it?
Well, it shouldn't be blocked.
And what, I guess, what we're going to have to define is what can we do with legal trail? Is it open to registered four-wheelers? Is it, what's it open to? Is it open to jogging? You know, what is a legal trail open to? You know?
Right away, basically.
A right of way, and that's it? Public can't use
It's
an
a
open trail?
three-rod road that's just downgraded so the town doesn't have to maintain it,
So
but
the public still has
a right of way.
the right to travel it?
You know, and they're using farm trucks and you know, if it was a trail, it'd be like a walking path or, you know, bikes.
They have a gate there, okay? And personally, I opened the gate and the dog bit me in the ass, okay? I didn't do nothing about it. I went through, shut the gate, and went. But they have to have a swinging gate in a class 3 to class or a trail. Is that gate legal?
Yeah, I think it is, right, right, Bruce? Didn't we talk about when we were down to Rob Catel's, that he on the other side, he could put a gate?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
From a class 3 to a trail or class 4 to a trail?
Well, I know for the last 50 years, there's always been a gate there. And it's always, even when we owned land out there, we always opened and closed it. So, when it was a class 4 road.
So, to answer your question, Scott, trails are public right-of-ways which are not highways and are generally used for recreational purposes.
So a registered ATV is recreation.
How about farm vehicles?
Tractors.
Tractors or trucks?
Trucks, because
Matt has to go through their trucks.
Yeah. But technically, they're not recreational vehicles.
so that's what Richard was concerned about. We had a little conversation about it. Because it is being used by ag vehicles, he felt that it should be upgraded to a class 4 because technically a trail is to use for recreational purposes.
But I don't know if that's what the trail was intended for, or the trail was just to downgrade a 4 to take less responsibility of the town to maintain it.
Now, when you go over class 4 roads, you have to maintain culverts and ditches, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Well, and now stormwater and, it keeps growing,
It's still a trail. I don't see where it said recreational trail. What is
So it's right here, Butch.
recreational?
Yeah, in the
Recreational
B
purposes.
So actually, they could stop them farm trucks from going through.
Yeah, you don't wanna do that though.
No,
No,
No, it's a right.
You know,
it's a right of way.
From
Is there a
the
reason?
ordinance, yes.
Right.
From the ordinance, you can, right.
But
Yeah,
not trying to get
from the
big.
ordinance, you
Right,
could
so,
stop those tractors from going using it.
so we should probably upgrade it to a class 4 then. That's the question that Richard brought to my attention. He says, you may be getting misused. So,
Yeah, but
what I'm saying is, if somebody got a hold of this, a landowner got a hold of this, and you started bucking heads because they're blocking it, well, they can come in and start stopping the ag vehicles going through there. Then you deny somebody access to the property. So I don't want to open that can of worms.
I would think ag would be an
Yeah.
exemption.
I'm just, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight, I'm just making the obvious.
Yeah, is there, couldn't you make it an exemption?
Isn't ag exempt?
Couldn't you make it an exemption if it isn't? The
Almost.
ag vehicles would be exemption with it. It makes a lot of sense.
I mean,
Why change the ordinance?
select boards may grant permission to enclose pet roads and trails by the owner of the land during any part of the year.
What was that?
Select boards may grant permission to enclose pet roads and trails by the owner of the land during any part of the year by erecting stills, unlocked gates, bars in places designated, and to make regulations governing the use of the pet roads and trails, to establish penalties not to exceed $50,000 for non-compliant, or $50 for non-compliance.
The town
They
can
got
direct
the
them or the
block,
whole
they got the
landowner?
block right out there, there's a culvert, they got the.
Select boards may
Select board may, but the private,
can allow a private person.
they can allow it, you guys can allow it.
Somebody said, I don't know, would you know, Kyle?
What's that?
Is that after that, is that a class 4 in Franklin, or is that a trail? Somebody told me
I
some of it was,
think that was turned into a trail
okay, but somebody,
in Franklin.
I don't think they did let it go by.
see, I don't know.
They kept it as a class 4?
I think they kept it as a class 4. You will check into it.
But then down if you go down the other end, coming in from Danger Ends, that's blocked.
What's the Buck Road?
No, it's not, it's not blocked to four-wheelers. It's blocked for vehicles.
At some
Okay.
point.
Four-wheelers,
Oh,
I got my Ranger through there, I have, I'll be an inch on each side.
The whole,
But you can go
the whole
through.
length of it?
So it's gotta be a trail then, because they can't stop a vehicle if it's class 4. They couldn't block the road.
I don't,
Right.
Right.
But I'm just saying, they
I don't
couldn't
know.
block the road, they have to let any vehicle through it if it's class
Yeah,
4.
it is on this map.
I don't
Shows it
Now,
on four.
now Scott, down,
That's worth looking into.
or Bush, you know what Buck Road is?
I was just asking.
Like each end is
Stuck out
4.
in the middle of nowhere.
So
They
Highgate
go
ends
from
of that,
there,
that's
they go
4.
through the swamp and come out by,
So that seems like more of a trail. I think
Yeah, that's it.
More like a trail than, walking down the Bougie
Yeah.
Road.
Cross.
It's very
And we
rough.
usually go down through.
I go get stuck
I haven't
down there.
been through there, but
We
you
walked the, well, that
And
road
I
that
just
goes
wanna
goes around.
We
make
walked
sure
to
it's
the-
clear,
but
Ed
also
did
there's a
clarify
Y in
that
there
the
somewhere.
town is
Where's-
not
Yeah, that goes
obligated
to-
to maintain a
Where's
class
this come from?
4.
I go,
That goes
No
to-
part of it goes to the
obligation, it's your
Yeah.
discretion,
the other part goes to,
but they
Back to
ask that
Cassidy.
whatever you do is equitable.
But the.
So that if you do for one, you do for the other, and that you put some sort of criteria together that says, okay, this guy has a home he's gotta get to, or this, this guy, or there's 5 homes here, so let's, so that it should be proportionate and fair.
So I guess my question is, does that block stay where it is on top of that culvert?
By
I
rights,
don't legally can.
by rights, it's gotta be moved.
Well, it says, does the town have any legal rights if someone blocks a highway or a trail? Person who places or causes to be placed an obstruction or encroachment in a public highway or trail so as to hinder or prevent public travel, or to injure or impede a person traveling on the highway or trail, shall be fined not more than $1,000 plus the actual cost of repairing the damage and a reasonable attorney's fee. The exception to that would be logging or other equipment temporarily within the right-of-way of the trail.
You can be very careful with that.
Yeah.
You know what happened?
Yeah.
Very, very careful with that. Because we went through a battle.
So it should be moved if it's, so we could be reliable.
You are reliable. so
If somebody gets
there,
there,
I would say they go after the person who put that there, but the town
Correct.
might be, whoever they can find has the most money.
Whoever's gonna.
Now that the town's been notified of it, I would really believe that would fall on the town now.
Yep.
Okay, so who's gonna tell this landowner, move it?
I guess I can.
You back up.
You need backup?
Can you do it without flipping out?
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, you can't.
With the letter, you should probably send somebody with Richard.
Letter that you just wrote,
I would go to Richard.
go with you, Richard?
What's that?
That letter,
Yeah,
Just take the letter, take the ordinance,
yeah.
say it's gotta get moved.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in a long time, but
The way it
I
is.
used to have a very good relationship with him.
And posted the speed limit there, 15, you didn't post that, did you?
I don't know.
That should be taken down.
But that's been there since,
It's illegal.
It's illegal.
Unless you guys posted it, it's illegal, Richard.
yeah, but what I'm saying, was it
I don't mind it being there.
1989 is when it's been there. Did the town have anything to do with it back then?
Right.
I don't know.
I wanna say all our dirt roads were brought from 50 to 35 at one time. Altogether. Because at one point they were not posted, in the state of Vermont, they're not posted, they're 50 miles an hour.
Right.
Town of Highgate, I don't know who the select board was at the time, gathered all the roads, the Boucher Road, the Tart Road, the Cassidy Road, the Turkey Road, and brought them all down to 35 at once. And that road we went along here too.
There is a 35, I think, at the beginning. right?
Yes.
Beginning of it.
Yeah.
And then they have the little one, you know where it is. You plow it all the time.
Okay, so the actual big issue was, what do you do for class 4 roads?
I spoke with selectmen, older selectmen, and, what did they do? And the one answer that I got, that people, the owners, the landowners, bought the fill, had it brought in, and the town helped them to level it, to grade it.
And that road was a big one. That one, and I think Henry, he kept that road. I remember he used to race horses down through there, and boy, yeah, that was a nice racetrack. It was nice back
But
then.
that's what they did on the Bushy Road, okay?
Yeah.
Henry
Yeah.
Scorner and I, we bought the gravel, and then the town graded it until they upgraded it to class
Yeah.
3. But that's what was.
Yeah, because it used to be a nice road out through there.
Yeah, I would agree that that is much more acceptable for the town, is if you could assist, but it's not your responsibility to do the job, it's not the town's responsibility to pay for the job.
Okay, so-
I was more or less talking about Hemp Yard Road.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yeah.
Sharon, so
Materials.
you think of the idea of putting money aside for that, it would probably not be a good idea? Let the owner supply the gravel and culvert and stuff and we assist? Is that what,
Well, I think that's been the precedent in the past.
The only thing I got to say about that, Sharon, is, okay, because it is a town highway, one guy puts a lot of money in it, and then somebody else decides, oh boy, this good road, we're gonna start using it a lot, and destroys it. How do you do that? Because that guy can't say no, because it is a public highway. So that's where it starts to get wishy-washy. You know, 'cause somebody could buy some land beyond Cadell and
Yeah.
just beat the pulp right out of that road,
Yeah.
because they're hauling whatever. And all of a sudden, you know, they put money into it, can't stop them. You know, you follow what I'm saying?
You better learn your neighbor's name.
No,
It's, you know,
So
excellent point.
in the regulations there, I heard that the town's required to maintain culverts and ditches. Or no?
on the class 4, that's what
On
you're
class
talking
4.
On a class 4 they do.
It's in that
I'm
ordinance.
talking about.
I don't
Okay.
think you have to do anything on a class 4.
It's in this.
On a class 4?
That's the ordinance, that it says it right there.
Class 4 town highways may be maintained to the extent required by the necessity of the town, the public good, or the convenience of the inhabitants of the town as determined by the select board. The town shall not be liable for construction, maintenance, repair, or safety of legal trails.
It's at your
It puts all the
discretion.
responsibility,
Including culverts, I thought it said.
the discretion of you, the board's discretion. That's
To me,
what
the
that
only
board
way,
does.
to me, the only way of really, if you don't do it the way of the owner buys materials and the town will work with them with their equipment, is you have a set amount of money that you can do whatever it is.
Are you busy
And-
now with the roads you have?
Yeah.
So if you want to add more to your plate?
So,
Absolutely not.
I guess my comment about Cattel's would be then, through no fault of their own, their property is now landlocked. So,
or they could fix the road themselves, right?
Right.
yeah,
Right, yes. That's what I told you that day, that, you know, we're not,
Well,
it's not really being landlocked, you just,
It's
the town's not stopping him from fixing it, but, you know,
It's a tough deal because that's what the last meeting we discussed this and I said, you open up this can of worms and where does it stop? Because you do it for one, you gotta do it for everybody.
Absolutely.
And this one may cost you $500 and that one may cost you $5,000.
it's,
And then-
I
Better add
don't
a
quite,
person
don't quite
who-
agree with
And
that.
then, exactly, then you got,
The
but
town
my only
roadbed,
thing, Bruce, is that we don't have them, you know, I
um,
spent all my gravel money, it's like, right now, I don't have any money, like Bruce, Richard said, do we put some aside?
the beaver activity out there has washed away the roadbed. Okay, so, and then the airport's totally shut off access from the west. Even though I suspect what is that, the whole Hemp Yard Road is probably a
Right,
trail.
it's right at that line where.
so is that legal?
It's a class 4 road to a discontinued, that culvert.
From the west, wasn't that, isn't it all
That's all
trail?
fenced now.
I thought it was trail, but we looked it up this weekend, that
Coming from
after that
Frontage
culvert
Road?
is discontinued. Look, our maps showed us, I told you
Yeah,
it was a
looks like
trail,
a D.
because I thought it was, but it's,
It stops right where his land is, right? There's a class 4 road.
right to the culvert, or about
Yeah,
I
yeah,
believe so.
yeah.
over the water, or somewhere, it's right on the line.
It's not a trail?
I know how tight we run a budget, so that's kind
It
of like the
was,
bottom.
I've been saying this, I thought it was a trail all the way through where it came out on the frontage, but
No, No,
It's looking like it was discontinued. I know through the airport was, I knew that was discontinued, but the maps that Nick dug at the other day showed that it was discontinued after that culvert. Thereof, I don't know the exact line, but it looked like it was that culvert.
So what are we gonna do with, you could tell, are we just gonna,
Oh, there's no money to do anything. so
right, I understand
right
that.
now, he can fix it if he wants to, but
Right, and if it's discontinued anyway, then the land would revert back to him anyway. So he can get up to the culvert,
no,
No,
he
we
can't.
can't.
No, that's,
well,
the washout was on 4,
right.
class 4. And then he
You're saying if
owns,
the highway was to help, they'll help up to the culvert?
Right, I mean, you would never go past the culvert because it no longer belongs to the town.
right. Yeah, and I think he could gate it. If it's discontinued, it's his
Right.
land,
Right.
No, that would be it.
or is it state?
That would be
He's
state.
board of state. That road is state on one side and him on the other, or?
I think his boundary line's a little bit north of the road, actually. That's,
So, let me get this just so I ain't mixed up. So if he bought the materials, would we help him?
To a certain point.
Right, well, while he's at that certain point, because right to the culvert, it's 4 and it's washed out. It's a brook running through there where the beaver messed it up. So that's what I'm saying. He's at that certain point, right?
Right.
Bruce?
yeah,
Is the culvert on class 4 or trail?
The culvert is on a trail, but to the culvert is 4.
yeah, the easterly end of Hemp Yard Road
I'm
is,
just about to leave my house and go to the neighbors, so.
is,
I'll see you guys
is
later.
it 4
Thank you.
from Carter Hill?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
starting
To
with
that
Carter Hill, it's class 4 road
To the culvert.
to a culvert, but before you get to the culvert, there's at least a 100-foot section of roadbed that's been just washed away from beaver activity. So,
But the question is that class 4 or class trail?
That's
4.
class 4. Up to the culvert. The culvert, the way I
Washed out
understand it, is a trail.
the washed-out,
Discontinued.
the
Oh,
washed,
yeah, okay.
the washed-out section is
You give
class
the word
4,
speak.
but
You could have permission to trap the beavers.
I was just gonna say, you might wanna talk to Gaymore, get a nuisance permit, get somebody to trap them beavers out there.
Well, he said that's all, I told him his best thing is to get rid of
there
them,
could be a lot of them in there.
keep them.
Well,
out of
Mother
there.
Nature's just sneaky.
But,
So, but if he bought the materials, do you or would you have time to assist in a low-level capacity?
Yes.
but like truck it,
No,
He has to.
that
he brings it in.
he did,
We would
So if
just
he-
go with
if he had
the
it
backhoe loader, and as they dumped it, we would place it.
The culvert's still there, but
The culvert's still there, yep, they didn't wash the culvert out.
yeah, they dammed up
Is it
the
plugged? Is it what they-
roadway that washed out and left the culvert alone.
Yeah.
You know,
There's probably no
150
water
feet away.
flowing through the culvert.
No, there isn't.
It's all around the culvert. Not now.
Which, once he, my thought of fixing it was 5-inch drainage stone, because he just wants to get over it with a 4-wheeler. But 5-inch drainage stone and let some water run through
Let it
that
run through
too. Because it's 3 feet deep, by 60, 100 feet long. And then the water would go back through the culverts. then the beaver's gonna plug the culvert back up.
And
And
you do it all over.
I don't think the 5-inch stone, it wouldn't, that the water can run through it, run over it.
Just stay there.
That was the only suggestion I had, to be a beaver proof. Because they're gonna come in there when you're not looking and,
Yeah.
Well, they got 24 hours a day to work on it.
yeah.
Does that sound agreeable to everyone?
Yeah.
Landowners provide their own materials on a class 4 road. The highway will help to their discretion.
I think this could wind up being on a case-by-case basis.
But
Right, that's,
Could
yeah,
be.
that's what it states. You
Yeah,
guys have
yeah.
the decision to,
Because we just don't, I mean, we don't have the funds. That's the big thing I heard.
Well, we
For
could
the
use
moment.
more money on the roads we do. Have to keep up. Okay.
do spend my gravel money.
Yeah, I know. But you do a good job. We appreciate it.
I come back from Florida and I thought the roads were excellent.
You heard that?
Maybe write that down.
It's on TV.
Maybe write that down, let you sign that.
Roads are in very good shape right now.
Yeah.
The chloride we have, we finished up this week, chloride in all the roads. Luke is good, all the first pass of mowing, our summer mowing. Now it'll be later summer when we do the rest. I don't know, like I say, it's gonna be iffy if we have our brush sidearm mower then. But we will do another pass and try to keep it out of the brush.
Don't let them hit nothing.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
He sure does a lot of work in that little machine.
And like us, we let them go on our meadows, but cut the other side of the ditch,
Oh, yeah.
you know, even through this crop, but not corn, but if there's hay land, one track down through, it makes advantage
Yeah.
because
to
the
get both
trees,
sides.
they already started growing.
Oh, yeah, they grow.
You know, that-
They grow.
And salt, we did purchase salt a little ahead of,
Yeah, I saw that.
not ahead, it was last year's salt, but the price is going like everything else, so.
Yeah, going stupid.
We made a decision of filling our salt shed now instead of later. We're gonna need it to put up our sand anyways.
Good call.
Our culverts, the culvert for the Cassidy farm project right there on the board went last fall, it was 5,400 for that culvert. We're looking to order it, and it's gone to 9,400.
Oh, my word.
Oh, yeah.
It's a grant
It's
project,
things
we're lucky.
Yeah.
The Rollo Road, we're able to use the gray on that one.
Yeah.
It's 4 foot, so that one's 1,900, I think it was. So it's a lot.
Yeah, no, everything has gone, it's just skyrocketed. It's definitely gonna affect your job, that's for sure. And our job, trying to fund it.
Right.
Hey Butch, do you have a date? I know people asked me the other day, do you have a date when they're gonna be in town paving?
No, they haven't said it. He told me July to August, you know, it's looking, but he didn't say a
Okay.
date. Hopefully, I mean, I think it's gonna be more July. We're working on moving it. We got the bucket for doing the high shoulders today. So we're gonna get that done. So that's our next thing, is working on where we're gonna pave. And then hopefully, if they don't come right off, we're just gonna keep, we got a lot of high shoulders on the Franklin Road. They're gonna crack seal that. They haven't set a date for that either, but if we can get where we're gonna pave and crack seal done, and guardrails, you know, we got a lot of sand under.
You put too much sand on the road.
I know. Last winter weren't bad, but the winters before it really added up. You know.
Okay, any last questions for Butch? Okay. Heidi, anything else for regular session? Okay.
No.
Any last public comments? Okay, thank you all for coming. I would entertain the motion to exit the regularly scheduled select board
So
meeting.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye.